What's going on, guys? This is Vince with vshred.com, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to deadlift. So, deadlift, it's an amazing compound movement, great for your legs, great for your back, great for just muscular development as a whole. Whether you're doing sumo deadlift or conventional deadlift is typically up to the person. Today I'm going to be talking about conventional deadlift. It's the one that you see more. It's just the basically standard deadlift, ones that you don't see with the super wide legs. So when it comes to a deadlift, you see a lot of wrong doings in the gym. You see people doing it wrong, they don't really know why. You see them using the wrong equipment. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is actually the equipment that they're using, not the weights and the bar necessarily, but the first thing I'm going to say is your shoe wear, what you're wearing on your foot, what you're wearing on your feet. Now this is very important because one of the worst things that you can do is deadlift in running shoes, because they have heel support, and basically they're going to absorb the power that you're putting through the ground when you pull the bar up. Your shoes are going to absorb that. What you want is a hard sole, a flat sole. You can get something like powerlifting shoes. You can get, my personal favorite is just Vans or Converse. They have hard soles and flat soles. Or you can get some of those like deadlifting slippers. They have those, they're hard soles, and then they're very loose on the foot. Whether you tie your shoes or not, completely up to you. Whether you like that ankle support or not, just make sure you have a hard sole and it's flat. After that comes the actual equipment that you're using to help you lift. The one that I probably would use that I do use the most is the belt. It's just a lifting belt. You can do the ones where it has the strap and you hook it into whichever loop is right for your waist, or you can do the ones that are actual, you have to screw in the little tongs, and then it's just super easy to just lift off your stomach. That's the one that I personally have, and the one that you're seeing in the clips right now. But now with belt placement on your body, again, this is down to the personal preference of the individual, but the reason of a belt is to brace your abdominal wall. It's to basically act as this exterior belt for your abs, to help keep you more upright, to help so when you take a deep breath, you have this stronger core for you to press, for you to pull with. So it's going to help keep you more upright. It's going to keep you from bending your back over. So the best place for you to put your belt on your stomach is going to be right under your rib cage. It might be a little uncomfortable at first. You might even have some bruising the next day from it until you break in your belt or you get used to it. But right under the rib cage is going to leave your abs in the best place so that you can create the most power, and it's going to give you the most support for your lift. After that, you can use wrist straps as well. If you are someone who's actually if you're an actual power lifter, I wouldn't recommend necessarily using wrist wraps, but if you're just someone who's trying to put on as much muscle as possible, wrist wraps are great because you're not gonna have to worry about holding that heavy ass bar in your hands, and you can just focus on what your body can handle, what your legs and your back can handle versus what your forearms can handle, which is typically going to be less than what those larger muscle groups can handle. I don't have wrist wraps with me today at the gym, but you can do the Versa grips ones where you just wrap it once around the bar and then you grab the grip, the rubber grips, or you can do the ones that you wrap around a couple of times. Those are the ones that I use on stuff like back day, like a heavy back day, just because your forearms are going to fatigue before these larger muscle groups are, so that's an option as well. After that, it's time to actually step up to the bar. Now, the first thing that you have to get in place is your foot positioning. So what is the best foot positioning for you? Again, it's not one set foot positioning for every single person. It's going to be dependent on how wide you are as a person, how tall you are, what's most comfortable for you, what feels right, do you have knee problems? So the best way that I can explain how to find what the best foot positioning is for you is to just simply go into the foot positioning that's going to allow you to produce the most power. If you don't know what that is, imagine yourself standing in one spot and you're just going to try to jump as high as you can. That's going to be producing the most power through your legs, that's going to be the foot positioning that you're going to go for. Typically that's going to be just about shoulder width, maybe just outside of shoulder width. For me, it's just outside of shoulder width, and I have my toes slightly pointed outward just because that's the most natural position for my knees. That way I don't end up hurting myself and my knees tucking in and really injuring my knees. So foot positioning is next. After that, you have to go with your hand positioning on the bar. So when you step up to the bar, you get your feet in place. After that, you get your hands in place, and your hands are just going to go just outside of your shins. So when you're stepping up, you should have your feet directly under the bar. You should have your shins almost touching the bar, and then with your shins almost touching the bar, that gives you a perfect understanding of exactly where your hands are going to go, because they're just going to go literally just outside of your shins. Because let's say you go too far outward, that's going to be a longer distance for you to pull this bar, or if maybe the bar is not all the way up to your shins and you're way out in head, that's going to make it farther. You want the shortest range of motion for this bar to go from the ground up to completely locked out. So that's going to be with your hands just outside of your shins and your feet just outside of shoulder width typically. Now, once you have your feet in place and your hands in place, it's time to actually get down and get into starting position. Now, starting position, again, is going to be what's going to be the most comfortable for you, but a couple of things to make sure that you're doing when you're about to go into the actual pull of the deadlift is you want to make sure that you have your shins up to the bar. Your shins are basically touching the bar, and they're going to stay that way throughout the entire pulling motion. Aside from that, you should be leaning over the bar. You should have your shoulders basically directly above the bar. Maybe not just your shoulders, but the scapula, so a little below your shoulders down here, should be directly above the bar. Aside from that, you should have your shins almost perpendicular to the ground, just about perpendicular to the ground. You don't want your shins way hanging over the bar. You don't want your shins way back. You just want them in a comfortable position where they're almost straight up and down with your scapula hanging over the bar. That way you can pull this weight straight up and return it back straight down without having to roll forward a little bit and pull it farther backwards, or starting too far back and pulling forward to where you're going to end up rounding your back at the top. So scapula over the bar, shins perpendicular to the ground. All right, now we are ready to actually pull the bar up off the ground. So before you actually pull the bar up off the ground, what you're going to want to do to make sure that you create the most stabilization in your core as possible is take a deep breath. But not just any kind of breath. You don't just want to breathe in through your nose and just kind of take a deep breath. You want to breathe in through your mouth. You want to focus on trying to fill your stomach with air, and you want to fill it with as much air as possible so that your abdominal walls are pushing against this belt wrapped around your core. That way you can create this stable base for you to pull through. Now, after that, you want to make sure that you are pulling the slack out of the bar. What does this mean? When you get up to the bar, there's likely going to be just about a centimeter, maybe even a millimeter of wiggle room that you can just wiggle that bar and create a little bit of clanking noise. What you want to do is make sure you get that out of the bar. You don't want to go into your pull and then that first part of the pulling motion is really quick and then you get hit with this load. That's going to end up causing an injury. So a very easy way to get yourself in the right position to pull this and get the slack of the bar is just to imagine that you're grabbing this bar and you are twisting it outward. Act like you are trying to bend the bar, because what that's going to do is engage your lats. And by engaging your lats, it's going to therefore pull the bar up just a slight bit, therefore pulling the slack out of the bar, rolling your shoulders back and getting you in a fantastic position to pull the bar up. Now, once you're ready to pull this bar up, you don't want to focus on pulling the bar up. What you want to focus on is as if you are almost doing something like a leg press. You want to focus on pushing your feet through the ground and the bar just staying in the same spot. So you're actually almost focusing as if you're pushing something away from you and just holding the bar rather than actually pulling this bar up, because if you focus on pulling the bar up, odds are you're going to end up rounding your back and hurting yourself. So if you keep your upper body in one stable position and you push your legs through the ground, that's going to allow you to engage your glutes like you're supposed to, And then once you engage your glutes, you're going to be trying to thrust your hips forward and then completely locking out with your legs. If you avoid any of these, if you don't squeeze your glutes, if you don't thrust your hips forward, and if you don't lock out, you're not going to be getting the benefits of a deadlift. And then if you're wondering how to return back to the starting position, very easy way, because you don't want to just drop it and you don't want to actually control it all the way down, because you're going to be using too much energy to return that heavy weight back down to the ground. So easy way is just to, once you've completely locked out, just release your glute muscles, let your hips slide backwards, and then once you get about 3/4 of the way down, then you can just release back to the ground, and that's going to get you back ready to start your next pull. So the next time that you're going to deadlift, just try to remember something that you learned from this video. It's not going to be perfect the very first time you go to attempt it, but over time, as you create that mind-muscle connection, the muscle memory, and you keep on yourself about the form tips that you've learned in this video and everything you've just learned in the past, which are probably bad. You should probably just go with this video, to be honest with you. That will start getting you into the right form. You'll be able to get heavier with the weights, you'll be able to get stronger, and you'll be building more muscle. So if you guys learned anything in this video, if you liked it, make sure that you are letting me know by clicking the thumbs up button and commenting anything in the comment section below. I'm reading the comments on every single video. If you have any questions, leave them. If you have any videos that you guys, topics that you guys want me to cover, leave them. And if you guys are looking for more fitness tips, if you guys are trying to get your body fat low, if you're trying to build muscle, if you're trying to build strength, if you're overweight and you're just trying to lose a bunch of weight, I have a free body type quiz that takes in your information and spits out 3 tips at the end of it, depending on what you answered, to help you get on your way, and then also matches you up with which of our 90-day programs is best for you. And there's a discount running on this video, so if you want to check that out, the link is in the description below this video. And then last but not least, guys, if you guys are not yet, make sure you are clicking the subscribe button below. And if you already are subscribed, make sure you're clicking that notification bell. That way you're actually getting notified when I launch or release a new video, because I'm doing it 3 times a week, every single week. That way you don't miss out. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.